Hello and welcome to the last session of our course Let's Learn German. Till now we have had a wonderful journey with the German language. We learnt many concepts about the German language and also quite few interesting facts about the German grammar. In this session we are again going to do some concepts about German language. Well, we are not going to do any more grammar. I am going to tell you something about the German language and some other aspects. Now, let us start with the German language. You must be wondering, where is German spoken? German is among the most widely spoken language in the European Union, and it is the official language in Germany, Austria and Liechtenstein. Well, it is also one of the official languages of Switzerland and Luxembourg. Let me also tell you a very interesting fact about German language. The standard German language vocabulary has got 30,000 to 50,000 words, out of which we only use only 12,000 to 16,000. And now coming back to the German speaking communities, well, apart from these countries where German is spoken, there are also other German speaking communities around Europe, such as in Bozen or Bolzano in northern Italy and the eastern part of Belgium, as well as there are certain communities in Eastern Europe, North and South America where German is spoken. German is spoken today by more than 100 million people. There are basically two principal divisions of the German language. German language is divided either into High German or Hochdeutsch, which we have done in our course, or we can say that German is also divided into Low German, or in German it is called Plattdeutsch. One of the most striking differences between them is the result of a consonant shift, which is also referred to as the second or High German sound shift, which took place before the 8th century. So, as you can see, such a long time ago German language existed and it has undergone a massive transformation in course of time. Now, coming back to the German language, German is a Germanic language and it belongs to the family of Indo-European languages. At some time during the disintegration of the Indo-European community, which is a historical concept, a group of tribes made their way to Northwest Europe and they developed a Bronze Age culture probably around 2000 BC. Now, that is a lot of history. Now, let us focus on the concept of Standard German. Standard German originated not as a traditional dialect of a specific region, but basically as a written language. So, as you can see, Standard German originated as a written language and not as a spoken language. However, there are places where the traditional regional dialects have been replaced by new vernaculars based on Standard German. That is the case in large stretches of northern Germany, but also in major cities in other parts of the country. It is also important to note that the colloquial Standard German differs greatly from the formal written language, especially in grammar and syntax. That syntax means the structure of the sentence, in which it has been influenced by dialectical speech. Standard German differs regionally between German speaking countries in vocabulary and in some instances of pronunciation and also grammar and orthography. That means, if you are speaking German in Austria or in Switzerland or in Luxembourg or in Germany, the German would differ in all these countries in terms of its grammar, pronunciation and also the writing style, which is called the orthography. This variation must not be confused, however, with the variations of local dialects. Well, dialects are spoken which are not necessarily similar to the standard language which is being spoken. Even though the regional varieties of Standard German are only somewhat influenced by the local dialects, they are very distinct. So, please remember this concept. So, German in that way is considered a pluricentric language. Now, you must be wondering what is a pluricentric language? A pluricentric language is a language like German, as you can see, which has got many variations like English. English also is a pluricentric language. Now, we were talking about German being a pluricentric language and also German which is spoken in many regions. In most regions, the speakers use a continuum from more dialectical varieties to more standard varieties according to various circumstances. Let us look at certain varieties of standard German. The national and regional standard varieties of German are basically three. There is standard German which is used in Germany, there is a standard German which is used in Austria, and also there is a standard German which is used in Switzerland. So, as I told you, German is a pluricentric language. That means German as a language is used in its standard form in 3 countries, and also German is spoken and used as a dialect in various countries. Now, in Switzerland, they have, apart from German, other languages also which are official in nature. They are Italian, French and Rhaeto-Romanic, and German is the 4th official language in Switzerland. In the German speaking parts of Switzerland, mixture of dialect and standard are very seldom used, and the use of standard German is largely restricted to the written language, though about, let us say, roughly 10% of the Swiss residents speak High German, also known as standard German at home. Swiss standard German is used basically in the Swiss education system, whereas the Austrian standard German is officially used in the Austrian education system. So, the standard German is basically used in Austria and Switzerland in the education system as well as in the administration. A mixture of dialect and standard does not normally happen in northern Germany either. The traditional varieties there are Low German, whereas standard German is a High German variety. Because their linguistic distance to it is greater, they do not actually interact with standard German the way the High German dialects such as Bavarian, Swabian or Hessian can. Now, we have spoken about language, and German language, as you can see now, is a very rich language and it has got a very ancient history. Well, from language we also have literature, and German literature is also a very vast and exciting field. Now, let us take a closer look at certain aspects of German literature and also some prominent authors of German language. The German language is used in German literature, as you know, and well, it can be traced to the Middle Ages. So, Middle Ages, the times which are like in the 10th to 11th century, when the most notable authors of the period being, well, the names are Walter von der Vogelweide and Wolfram von Eschenbach. The Nibelungenlied, a very prominent German literary text whose author basically remains unknown, is also an important work of the epoch. The fairy tales collection collected and published by Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. Well, Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm are brothers who collected fairy tales and also published them in the 19th century, became very popular throughout the world and especially among children, and also these fairy tales provided a great development for the German language as well as for the literature. Another person who contributed to the development of German language is a reformer and a theologian called Martin Luther. He is the person who translated the Bible into German from Latin, and he is also credited for having set the basis for the modern High German language. Now, let us look at some prominent authors of German language. The first one being Ingeborg Bachmann. Ingeborg Bachmann was from Austria and she was a poet as well as an author. During her lifetime, basically she was known for her two collections of poetry, which in German are called Die gestundete Zeit and Anrufung des großen Bären. And after her death, she became popular also amongst her feminist readers. Feminist scholars' engagement with her work after her death led to a great deal of scholarship that also drew attention to her prose work. Ingeborg Bachmann's work basically focuses on themes like personal boundaries, establishment of concept of truth, philosophy of language, and also in the context of Austrian philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. And basically Bachmann's works represent the struggle of women to survive and to exist in the post-war Austrian society. Now, another important female author of German literature was Christa Wolf. She was not only an author but also a literary critic and an essayist. Very important work is considered to be the novel Der geteilte Himmel or The Divided Heaven, which came out in 1963. There are other works by Christa Wolf which includes Nachdenken über Christa T, or in English it is called The Quest for Christa T, Kindheitsmuster, which is English called Patterns of Childhood, and other works like Cassandra, Kein Ort Nirgends, Störfall, Media, and the Stadt der Engel oder The Overcoat of Dr. Freud. Christa T was one of her work which briefly touched on a disconnection from one's family ancestral home, was concerned with a woman's experiencing overwhelming societal pressure to conform. Christa Wolf's works have sometimes been seen as controversial since German reunification, but she also received for her literary works very prominent literary prizes like the Heinrich Mann Prize in 1963, the George Büchner Prize in 1980, and the Schiller Memorial Prize in 1983, as well as the Geschwister Scholl Prize in 1987, as well as other national and international awards, which show that Christa Wolf as an author was a very important figure in the German literature. After 1999, Christa Wolf received the Elisabeth Langeese Prize and the Nelly Sachs Literature Prize, and Christa Wolf also became the first recipient of the Deutsche Bücher Prize or the German Book Prize, a very important and a prestigious literary prize which is still now there. 2002, and this prize was given to Christa Wolf as a lifetime achievement prize for her prolific writings. In 2010 also she was awarded the Große Literaturpreis der Bayerischen Akademie, the Schönen Künste. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, or just Goethe, is considered to be the father of German literature and is still one of the most popularly read German author. He was not only an author but also a statesman, a scientist, and many other achievements are there to his name. No wonder he is called genius. His body of work includes epic and poetry written in variety of meters and styles, prose and verse dramas, memoirs, autobiography, literary and aesthetic criticism, and also he wrote on various subjects apart from literature, basically include botany, anatomy and color. So, as you can see, he is a genius. He wrote on so many subjects and he was also a trained lawyer. In addition, there are numerous literary and scientific fragments written by him. There are more than 10,000 letters which he wrote to various people, and nearly 3,000 drawings by him still exist. And the most important of Goethe's works were produced before he went to Weimar, which is the Goetz von Berlichingen, a tragedy that was the first to bring him recognition, and the novel The Sorrows of Young Werther, which in German it is called The Leiden des jungen Werthers, which was published in 1774, which gained him enormous fame as a writer in the period of Sturm und Drang, which is an important period in German literature history. Indeed, the novel The Sorrows of the Young Werther or The Leiden des jungen Werther is often considered to be the spark which ignited the movement and which at that time can be called the world's bestseller because it became very popular among the youth. During the years at Weimar before he met Schiller, Goethe began the book Wilhelm Meister's Apprenticeship, or in German it is called Wilhelm Meister's Lehrjahre, and he also wrote the dramas Iphigenie of Tauris, Egmont, Torquato Tasso, and the most important work of his lifetime is the two-part play Faust. Faust as a play is still considered to be one of the most critical landmark pieces of literature in German language. Another important voice of German literature are the brothers Thomas Mann and Heinrich Mann. Thomas Mann was also a poet. Thomas Mann was also a German novelist, short story writer, social critic, philanthropist, essayist, and he won the 1929 Nobel Prize in Literature. His analysis and critique of the European and German soul used modernized German and biblical stories as well as the ideas of Goethe, Nietzsche and Schopenhauer. Thomas Mann's works were first translated into English by H.T. Lowe Porter beginning in 1924, and his works include the novel Buddenbrooks, The Magic Mountain and his numerous short stories. Now, we have spoken about German literature. Let us look at some other important contributions which are from the field of philosophy. In German philosophy, there are figures like Immanuel Kant, who is still considered a very central figure in modern philosophy. He wrote many works, out of which the works on aesthetics, on morality and judgment are considered to be few of his important works. The other important philosopher from Germany was Nietzsche, who was not only a philosopher but also a critic, a poet, philologist, as well as a Latin and Greek scholar whose work has exerted a profound influence on Western philosophy and modern intellectual history. Nietzsche began his career as a classical philologist before turning to philosophy, and he has a very wonderful achievement to his name. He became the youngest ever to hold the chair of classical philology at the University of Basel when he was just 24. Nietzsche's body of work touched widely on art, philology, history, religion, tragedy, culture and science, and drew early inspiration from figures such as Goethe. Germany is also known as a land of science and technology. Germany's achievements in science and technology have been very significant, and research and development efforts form an integral part of country's economy. Germany is a land of engineering, and it has been home to some of the most prominent researchers in various scientific disciplines, notably physics, mathematics, chemistry, and as I said, engineering. Before World War II, Germany had generated more Nobel Prize winners in science alone than any other nation. It compelled as best country in science. Scientific research in the country is supported by industry, by the network of German universities, and by scientific state institutions such as the Max Planck Society and the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft or the German Research Foundation. I hope you enjoyed these interesting facts and it would inspire you to learn German and also visit Germany. And till we meet next time, as I always say, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss.